Okay, I was talking earlier about how I liked to use command line programs and markdown languages, and I was accused of liking inefficiency. Now, this statement doesn't really make sense, but I guess it would make sense why someone would think this. It's actually much more efficient to use these text editors, markup languages, so on and so forth, than to use some sort of word processor like Google Docs or LibreOffice or whatever. I will show a demonstration. First, let me open up LibreOffice. I run it. It takes all this time to load, and then I have to create a document. Then I can start typing whatever. Now, this is not even mentioning how inflexible it is to use this. I have to use the mouse, and I have to manually reposition things and whatever. Very not elegant, very inefficient. I should actually show how one would use something else as demonstration and comparison. So I can open a command line. First of all, to be fair, I did mention command line text editors. Something like ed would fit that. I actually don't know how to use that, but it does use a command line to edit files. That's something that does actually use a command line to edit things. So would manually outputting text into files. If I did that into a file named text, you can see it has that and whatever. But if you're using an actual TUI, terminal user interface text editor like Vim, it actually will work much more efficiently. Let's open up a file. This doesn't exist yet, but I just created it in a buffer. I'm actually going to turn on screen key, just so you can see what I'm doing. Something like this is completely bound by keybinds and has different modes that enable it to be much more efficient. So I can say, here is a sentence. Notice I'm in insert mode right here. Now I can use, if I press escape, I go into normal mode, and I can use something like B to go back. Don't even have to move the hands off the keyboard. If I press O, I can go to the next line. I can go in and out of modes, type different stuff. I can use H, J, K, and L to navigate different lines, etc., etc. I can even do things like C, W, change word, and I can do a new word. I can do CC to change the entire line, DD to delete a line, even copying and pasting. I can do easy navigation. Okay, I think you get the point. Using this is much more efficient than an ordinary text editor or word processor. Not to mention that it uses such low system resources that it can run incredibly fast with no lag or anything. The original VI program, VI was made in the 70s or 80s, and it worked perfectly fine on these old computers. You can literally run this type of program on anything, and it will work perfectly fine. Now, markup languages. I will admit, if you're doing something quick, just a short writing or something, it may be faster just to write some unformatted text in a word processor or whatever. So maybe if I was doing something like this, then I should simply write a plain text file. Of course, it would be foolish to use Google Docs or something. Which maybe even if it is faster than running LibreOffice natively, you still have to be connected to the internet all the time, and there are a whole bunch of other issues. You have to run an entire web browser just to process text, which is very bloated and unneeded. Now, markup languages. If I was using something like Markdown, it's very simple. You just do a # for header, you do another for a smaller header, like a subsection, and I believe there are 6 of these in descending order. And to write text, you just do this. Unformatted, it just works. Now, of course, unlike something processed with a word processor, a proprietary one at that, with rich text, it's fully unreadable, unless you have that certain program open. Plain text, you don't even need a Markdown formatter, but it will look just fine, like this. You can read it and tell what everything means. But if I try to use a LibreOffice document, let's say I save it as untitled1, there's all these different formats. The .txt would probably be the best. Well, it'd definitely be best. But usually people just put it in a rich text, quote-unquote, format. Like if I do the default and I save it, and then I try to view it, let's do less, untitled. It has all of this mess that is totally unreadable. You can also use it in scripts and whatnot. I can save this file, grep word file. There's nothing in there that says, I'm actually going to open up another window. You can see there's nothing in here that says word, but I can do something like grep -i insensitive header file, and it will show that particular line. I can even use something like sed to substitute. I can do substitute editor for, I don't know, hamburger, and do that globally, and it will replace it with hamburger. And I can put this into other files. You get the point. It's much more efficient. Now, what I was using and talking about was a LaTeX document. LaTeX is a bit more complicated than something like, say, Markdown. So let me copy over the file that I have. So I have that in documents, templates, tech, articles, and I'll put that in tech.tech. Now if I open that, see, this is kind of complicated. I honestly do not have it memorized how to make all this. In fact, I don't really need any of this. I may keep some of it for representational or exemplary purposes. But look, I can do author, key to, or no. Author, I'm going to turn screen key back on so you can see all the keybinds and whatnot. Title, example, begin document. Now, within these particular lines, it will begin the document. I'm going to comment this out for now, but let's say here is some content. Now, I actually have a keybind set up, Control L, and that will just run LaTeX mk, which is a script that will automatically compile everything. As this is especially helpful when you have bibliographies and whatnot to manage, since that ordinarily require you to compile it multiple times. Now, let's open up this thing, Zathura tech.pdf, and you can see everything's nicely formatted in here. Looks good. So yeah, that will give you a very nice thing. But okay, maybe this is pointless to make something so simple. But once you get to anything more complex, it is so much more helpful to use LaTeX. Let's say I wanted to add a section. Section about a thing. And let's make some more sections. And I can even put about blah, blah, blah. Now I can write that, I can compile it. You have all these sections and it numbers them. I didn't even need to write the numbers. In Google Docs it will make like an inflexible, non-formattable list of these, but I can simply move this section somewhere else and it will automatically format it so that the number corresponds to the item in it. And you can also make subsections, A and B and C. I know these aren't in order, don't worry about that. And I could even move it over here. I'm not doing good formatting at all, but this is just an example. It will still correspond. Now, you can also do references. So you can reference something here, and even if you move it, it will still reference that section regardless of where it is. Now, something that's especially helpful is the bibliographies. I'm actually going to move this here. I'll copy my example bibliography over because I don't exactly remember all the specifications for this. But this will have all things here. And let's say, according to, and I can do cite T for cite text, online writing, you should use, I'm sorry for the awful spelling errors, you should use LaTeX and Neovim. One moment. I'll just do single quotes here. Now, when I compile that, okay, so the commands differ based on the particular plugins that you use, but I believe it's paren cite. And you can see that will compile, or you can do text cite, and just doing that will show the text in a properly formatted in-text version. Now, at the end, I can also use print bibliography, and it will do all that. Notice it does not include all of these things. If I was using some other program to handle the citations, it has no way of doing this. It will just copy all of them, and you'll have to manually edit them, manually cite these all properly. It's just much better to have it handled in something like LaTeX, which makes it automatic. Now, if you're not going to do this, at the very least, just use plain text in a proper text editor like this to handle documents.